is tough on Hoover and definitely.
Okay.
Recording in
Call the
progress.
meeting to order. First, just want to welcome all to the Development Review Board meeting. In order to have a productive meeting, we ask you to observe a few ground rules. If you have a question or statement you wish to make, please raise your hand to be recognized by the chair. We're all neighbors, please be respectful. Please do not speak until it's such time you are recognized by the chair. Once you've been recognized by the chair, please move to the podium to allow for Zoom participants to be able to hear the discussion. Majority of the meetings will be discussions among the board members, after which time we'll open up to the public. We'd like to keep the discussion to possibly two minutes to 3 minutes per person, just so everybody has a chance to speak. And if you have more lengthy discussion, you can always submit it to us in a letter, email. That being said, first on the agendas, minutes from July 16th. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of July 16th,
Did you have any, was there some?
not on the 16th, but on the 2nd. We have to approve the minutes of the 2nd.
Okay. So 16th is approved. July 2nd. You had some,
Yeah, just two small corrections, which I already spoke to Alliance about. So approved with those corrections. So
I'll make those.
is there a second?
Oh, second.
All in favor? Thanks. Yeah, Catherine?
I can't vote on it unless I know what the corrections are.
you want me to read them?
Yeah, please.
So on page 8, under the section, third paragraph down, FEMA is the word FEMA is missing. I think that might be helpful. 3/4 of the way down, there are 43 units on the property, and the traffic and other impacts should, if the sentence ends, to the neighborhood, I think is what was intended. Very bottom of the page, Mrs. Holden said that the people who have, I think the intent is live there, have had 3 100-year floods. So it's just missing a few words there. And those were my only corrections.
Sounds good to me.
All in favor? Catherine, you're,
Aye.
thanks. Okay, first up, Abishan Company, 1131 Depot Street. Applicant is appealing notice of violation issued by the zoning administrator, who will be testifying tonight. Swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth? Thanks. You want to go up to the podium and?
Good evening. My name is Jamie Simpson, and I am with Landmark Engineering and Design. And we were hired by the applicant, Abishan Hardware, to address an issue that was raised in a notice of alleged violation letter that was issued to my client. That letter had a couple things that needed to be addressed, but primarily focused on the traffic safety concern at the intersection of Depot Street and Taconic Business Park Road, and as well as the intersection of their entrance for Abishan Hardware. So the concern was the loading and unloading and deliveries for Abishan Hardware, and how the larger 18-wheeler trucks would approach and enter the site. The resolution to that we've proposed was sent to you in various maps. And that illustrated each segment of that proposed delivery sequence. The first was existing conditions, just showing you what the layout was of the current site conditions. And then the second drawing showed the approach of the 18-wheeler coming from the east and making that turn, the right-hand turn into Taconic Business Park Road. And then proceeding up Taconic Business Park Road for a portion. And then the third drawing represents the reverse movement of that same truck once it has pulled onto Taconic Business Park Road, and then proceeding to back up into the entrance of Aubuchon Hardware. And then the fourth illustration, the fourth drawing, shows the trucks then leaving the exit of Aubuchon Hardware and pulling out onto Depot Street and exiting the site. So that is the proposed resolution that I came up with through various modeling with computer-aided design, modeling the WB 67, which is a 53-foot
Happy
trailer.
birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Sorry, sorry about that.
So we modeled the WB 67, which is a 53-foot long trailer, which is the largest vehicle allowed on roads without special permits. So as a way to kind of test this to see if it was going to work, Aubuchon has been proactive and they've implemented this design change for their deliveries. And as far as I'm aware, there's been no issues at all with the deliveries at the store, and this solution works.
I guess a little bit of history on the project. When it was first approved, Aubuchon was a small store in the shopping center, small store. And the amount of business that they were proposing to do was nothing like it is now. It's which is good for business, but it's grown quite a bit. And we had concerns at that time with the entrance to the business park being there. Initially, the initial plan was to move, I think there was a phone pole there to take the phone pole, relocate the phone pole, and had the entrance farther west, southwest, whatever. So traffic did not have to go on to the railroad tracks as much, and you weren't, it was farther away from the tracks. And throughout the years, there have been multiple times when the zoning administrator, whoever it was at the time, has had to go down, and because of how busy you are, again, which is a great thing, there's always been things, stock, whatever, pallets in parking spaces back in the area where the tractor trailers have to back up in to get to. And I think is whether that works or not, I mean, I guess if the model says it does, but I still think that a better option would be to get the vehicles off the road as quick as possible and not have to be on the railroad tracks for any period of time. And that's a safety thing. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but that's that was our initial intent when we did that, and that's how we got to this where we're at now. But again, there have been throughout the years multiple times where people have had to go down and say, you know, you got to move this. Not only is it taking up parking spaces, because they'd have pallets of goods in the parking spaces, usually taking up 3 to 4 parking spaces, and the tractor trailers, because originally where they were going to go back in, where you show it backing in, they can't, because they can't get in there if it's full of merchandise. And I see you said you were going to try to have a couple of people from the store come out and direct the tractor trailers. A good idea, but we can't guarantee, you can't guarantee that there's someone sick or whatever, you're busy, you can't guarantee there's gonna be someone out there. That's just my opinion. Or we could take comments from the rest of the board. I don't know what their thoughts are, but that's.
I guess in following that, there was a study that was performed in 2019 as well. By Doug Hewitt of Summit Engineering that suggested a reconfiguration of the road at that time. Do you guys ever look at that?
So I haven't looked at that option because I was able to situate the entry or the approach for these trucks to able to work as it's currently designed. And that gets the truck completely off of Depot Street immediately. The way this functions is the drivers call ahead to the store and let them know that they're going to be in that vicinity within a certain time frame, whether it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes ahead of schedule. And then those traffic attendants go out dressed in vests, and we do have a document here that indicates those tractor trailer delivery procedures. And so they go out and they prepare and look for any traffic issues that might be a concern before the truck actually gets there. And then the truck arrives and the traffic attendants assist the truck in getting onto Taconic Business Park Road immediately without any hesitation. So that there's no concerns about traffic coming off from TCBR or someone trying to enter Aubuchon from Depot Street from the westbound lane, or I should say the eastbound lane in the west lane. So those attendants assist with that process. So I have not looked at reconfiguring the road per the some engineering.
Because I mean, we're talking about 6 years at this point.
Right, right.
I guess as a follow-up to that, is there a thought for you to follow up and look at the road reconfiguration?
I think what the client is hopeful for tonight is that the DRB looks at this as a potential solution that could eliminate having to reconfigure the road. Because obviously that would be a considerable expense to reconfigure the road intersection. They would have to get V-Trans involved, being a state highway. The other report by, I think it was, who said Summit Engineering in 2019, yeah.
Any questions, Catherine?
My biggest concern is even in your diagrams, you show where the truck, I mean, the truck cannot back into that spot. There's so much merchandise back there. You show it's in the parking area in the way of the travel lane. Regardless of the intersection change, what is happening now is totally in violation of the permit. And I think that's a big issue.
Excuse me, Catherine, this is Jamie. In what regard is it in violation of the permit? Is it the actual location of where the truck unloads, or is it the
Yes.
approach getting into the access?
Where the truck unloads, it can't go back in along the side of the building like that.
Okay. I guess at this point, I would invite other representatives of Aubuchon to speak to the issue with the merchandise. And I don't know if you'd like to come up.
Swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thanks.
Me to remain up here for now, or? Yeah.
I'm Jeff Bicknell, representing the Aubuchon Company. So as Jamie had mentioned, we've had this instituted since the original plant review board hearing back in early July. We personally contacted every single one of our distributors. We explained the expected process, the timing, the calling. We provided the store team with appropriate PPE, which includes safety vests and any additional cone and lighting that they need to be safe on the roadway, Depot Street and whatnot. This has worked for the last month. the store team, which includes the store leader who's here today, has cleaned up that space, the fenced-in area that we closed in a few years ago to allow trailers to access that back lot. And we're not exceeding any space that prevents the trailers from accessing that location. So we've been doing this for well over a month at this point, with about 3 to 4 weeks, with no cause for concern, no issues.
Out of curiosity, has there been any traffic, traffic accidents or incidents over the past, since you guys actually moved into that building?
There have been a few instances where people have hit one another backing up, but not related to,
That's why, yeah, more, it's a,
not related to this, no. No.
Quick question.
Yes.
Just 2 employees that are trained to do this traffic attendance, or all the employees that are working there?
The entire team,
The
the entire team,
So that if it's a busy time in the store,
Yeah.
people can
always two.
always be out.
And I do want to iterate too, this is our busiest time of year,
Right?
where we get the most frequent number of deliveries, whether it's live goods, hard goods, et cetera. The fact that we've been able to accomplish that during our peak season of sales just tells, I can guarantee that we can do this continuously and safely throughout the rest of the year, when our deliveries are slightly smaller and much fewer.
And is there any impact on your neighbors here on the Taconic Business Park Road? I mean, when the trucks are pulling in order to back out to then pull in, are they in any way encroaching on their property, or is there any issue?
None at all.
Slowing up traffic or anything like?
Nope. Nope, nothing that's been reported at this point.
There's also a question, Peter, did you, they had a temporary CO, right?
Yes.
And they do not have a CO for the rest of the issues, or have they completed the rest of the issues that were?
There's a couple of open items which I could furnish documentation for.
Which is the new site plan to reflect? Or you were just, there were some other issues, there were open issues on the temporary CO?
What were those open issues?
One says new site plan needed to reflect the correct zoning district, mixed use 2. E91 should be reassigned to Taconic Business Park Road. Make sure any of the items that are in the flood hazard area are secured, and materials outside the fenced area.
I believe that was done about 1.5 years ago. As part of that was also securing the propane tank that was in the backyard, the back lot, and that was secured.
Well, the propane tank, and I don't have it all in front of me right now, but Peter, I'll do that with you.
Sure. It was also a map that was identified the free area for offloading the tractor trailers as they pull back in.
Can you say that again?
There was also a map that included a free area where the trailer would be offloaded.
Yeah.
And we were down there yesterday. We took some pictures, which I shared with the board. And it's, right now it has a significant amount of retail stuff there. So
Okay.
this is, I think the board's frustration was basically due to going back there consistently, constantly, for these little items. So I guess they need assurances that you're going to take care of these.
Yeah, we'll execute everything else that needs to be taken care of in a timely order.
Any other questions, Catherine?
Sorry, no, it takes a while to unmute.
That's okay.
I don't know, you guys all saw the pictures. I was hoping somebody else would pipe in and agree with me, but
What was that?
She was referring to the pictures that were sent out.
Oh, and she didn't receive it?
no, I did.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
I'm referring to.
Oh,
And I don't see that there's the width for a tractor trailer to go through there. Of course, I'm not standing in the spot right now. I'm looking at photographs, so it's kind of hard to judge, but
Are these research?
well, we could always do
it just came out today.
Okay.
we could always recommend a site visit if you like.
Give them time to clean it up. Yeah,
Again, I do want to remind the board here, we have been receiving deliveries this has been occurring. This isn't something that we're saying we're going to
But
do.
this has been going on for 6 years, and all of us have witnessed trucks in the parking lot unloading, and it's been going on way too long.
And that's why we made the change in July after the original hearing was scheduled. We made that immediate change because we want to be in compliant with the requests.
But they
Okay.
have, I mean, just so you know, they have done that in the past as well.
Yes, I understand. Yes.
The zoning minister past, one or two zoning administrators have gone in and noticed problems. They moved the stuff out of the way and a week later, a month later, 2 months later, it's all back again. I guess that's a little bit of frustration that we have there.
I guess I'd like to
Okay,
just
it's like this, right?
recommend, well, I'd like to recommend a revisit to this maybe in 6 months again, just to
Okay.
see how things are going, and we can kind of continue to do our own site inspection.
Well, do you want to wait 6 months or like 2 months? 'Cause
2
we'll
months,
be in the
2
middle
months
of
is
winter.
fine, yeah, 2 months.
Yeah, well, whatever timeframe you wish to
Okay,
view this again, we're glad to do.
Continue.
so do you want
Before it
to,
snows even.
you want to continue, make a motion, continue
Yeah.
it for 2 months and we'll.
And put it 2 months out and just kind of monitor, this is your heavy season, so we can kind of drive by and monitor the situation as well.
Yeah, completely understandable.
Okay.
Are you okay with that, Catherine?
Yeah, I guess so. Growing season will be over, but the growing season
Oh.
seems to be the problem.
We do come into our fall season, which is pretty substantial in Christmas trees, so
Christmas trees,
Oh,
the
yeah.
next 2 to 3 months, we'll still be busy in that area.
big.
Yes.
There's no other place to put them, is there? There's like
Trees,
anything, like any of this, there's really no other.
what photo are you looking
The
at?
photos of what, you're referring
Some of
to.
those photos taken
Yesterday?
oh, yesterday.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
You're talking about things. that are
Yeah,
past.
just there's,
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely tighten it up, and that's more of a purchasing activity on our part. So if that is a concern, we can definitely correct that.
So
I'm happy to make a motion on a revisit on a continued basis in 2 months.
okay,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Next, we got a preliminary again for Snowdon LLC, 575 Depot Street. Applicants requested to demolish the existing buildings on the property and construct a new Valvoline. And it's just preliminary, so we don't need to swear you in. Just giving us an overview of where you're at now, what you're.
You want to pull up good evening, Steve Wilson. Again, we're in front of the DAB earlier today. If you want to pull up we'll start with the landscaping plan that we submitted. That was a highly discussed topic last time. And this represents what a preliminary landscaping plan looks like. So we got some good feedback from the DAB about plant species we should be using for some of the trees, focusing on red maples and Bradford pear. And then where we have some overhead wires, which is along the front and the Highland Avenue side, we could use some dwarf crabs to still provide some street trees, but not have the conflicts with the overhead wires. And they also suggested we kind of limit the beds. They feel that the feeling was they're tough to maintain. They get abused a lot, snowing, plowing, snowing, pedestrians walking on them. So focus was more on providing mature trees along that Highland Avenue side as opposed to a large planting bed with a lot of smaller perennials and shrubs. So make those changes. And like you said, it's preliminary. And with a future submission, we would have a detailed landscaping plan specifying sizes, types of materials, et cetera, to fully, to show a robust planting plan for the site.
Now, does this plan, when I remember, what was the intent on the phone pole on Highland on the building side?
The Highland Avenue side, there's a row of overhead lines.
Right, where the phone pole is right tight to the building there. Was that phone pole gonna be relocated or not?
All those overhead lines are going to remain.
But was there any thought of, I think moving the phone pole a little more to the west-ish or so, off the street a little more, because I think the concern was, and I don't have an actual plan in front of me, but because it's not drawn up yet, but the concern was trying to widen that, Highland Avenue curb cut off of 1130. And I don't know how far up, I walked it with, the town road foreman a while back, and that phone pole seemed to be a little bit tight, and
It is tight. There's a lot going on there. I guess as we looked at it, kind of felt, well, the removal of the building is going to greatly improve that line of sight, and it doesn't really require, that radius is fine for kind of a town side street.
you're not talking about widening that curb cut at all.
Our intent was,
Might want to talk to,
we also heard about, traffic on Highland Avenue, that we don't want to be a generator there, so, or as limited as possible. So kind of along those lines, the Highland Avenue driveway is not one way. We're not gonna.
right, but the Highland Avenue traffic, I know let's talk about that, but I don't, the only traffic that unless I'm wrong, the only traffic I can see there would be going from 11 and 30 to the back of the building. I don't think you're going to get people going up there to go up to Barneville Road. I think if someone's going into the Valvoline, they're just gonna go in, take a left, go into Valvoline or the Firefly or the old gas, whatever. But you're not gonna go through the stop sign and go up the hill.
You saying if I've used Valvoline, what am I gonna do? Like I'm coming out of Valvoline, what am I gonna do then?
No, I'm talking about the extra traffic on Highland Avenue. And
They're not going in, you know that they're not taking the left off of Highland into there, that's exit only.
Right.
How do you keep somebody from,
but again,
I don't know.
I don't see where you're gonna get a lot more traffic past that stop sign on Highland Avenue. I don't think the only place you can have any more traffic at all would be right in where you come off of 1130 to go in up Highland Avenue. And it's a tight, right now, it's a very, very tight exit. I feel it's kind of dangerous right there because it's very tight. If you're coming into town, taking a right and someone's there trying to get out, or if you're, I think, and you might want to talk to Jeff about it because he thought that would be a good idea to widen that curb cut as well. He's our highway superintendent, yes. Because we looked at it, and it is a very.
We can look at it, moving phone poles has a ripple effect, a lot of times it's just not moving one, and so, but we'll ask the question.
It might not have, that might have not come into play as much. I would talk to Jeff about it because he's
What's Jeff's last name?
Williams.
What's the name of the street out here?
Yep.
very good.
I would talk to him because we looked at it and that was one of his concerns.
Take a look.
Any questions?
I mean, I still have concerns of just cars kind of go, like, you've got an in, you got an out, you got two outs. And I'm not really sure how you, I mean, you could put a sign that says, don't turn in here, but there's an opening, people are gonna, you're encouraging people to drive down the street, see that the bay is open. Well, they've already sort of passed Valvoline now, so they're gonna have to turn down Highland to get in, and they're gonna go in there. And I guess I'm just concerned with all the traffic flow and how the vehicles are gonna safely navigate all the ins and outs, and minimize the traffic of people continuing to go to Highland. So I guess my ask is if we can look at doing a traffic study to really understand the flow in this corner. Because you've got a lot of people going up and down Depot Street. People stopping suddenly or kind of, again, I'm not a traffic person, but it just seems concerning to me, how the traffic looks.
With our with our full submission, we can provide that traffic assessment to understand those potential impacts. Yeah.
That would be helpful. Yeah,
Sure.
I think it would be helpful, especially because everyone's remarked how Highland Avenue is not a wide street. And the anticipation is 40+ cars potentially a day, entering and exiting, right? Is that 40
On the
cars?
busiest day, yes.
40 cars.
Again, they're certainly not gonna. Early for snow, but,
Potentially, yeah.
we'll take a look at it.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense.
I mean, I can't imagine that there used to be more, in my assumption, there used to be more than that going in and out of there before.
Into that,
40 cars? Oh, I mean, on a afternoon when the Firefly was open or whatever, you'd have
Okay.
probably either the parking lot would be full, you'd have cars in and out. All the time, and
Mhm.
even when the mobile station used to be there, Paul's Mobile, I mean, that was busy, that was probably one of the busier gas stations in town, because it was the first station coming into town, coming off the highway, coming down from the mountain. And that, I would say they had way more than,
way more than that.
I would say they had way more than that at any given time, at the old mobile station there, but. that's
And,
just-
and it very well could be, but I wasn't asked to sign off on the design
Oh, no.
of the original, so just, if you could, if you could do that.
We'll definitely do a comparison of that use, of what the traffic generated from the site now versus what it would be with the Valvoline, so they can apples to apples comparison, for sure.
That could be helpful.
Yeah.
I do know that some neighbors had expressed an interest.
Yep.
In traffic. Okay.
If you want to switch to the proposed building, the feedback we got from this is pretty much the same we saw last month or in May, so it's still a work in progress. Well, yeah, thank you. So based on some discussions, the overhead doors are still an issue, so we're gonna look at options to kind of make them look less like overhead doors when when the business is closed, so that's one item. The second is we're gonna try and mimic, if you look at the bottom, right of the page, that's the back of the building, and there's those 3 windows on the gable. We're gonna look to mimic that on the top left view of the building and kind of get some windows on that side of the gable and bring the sign a little bit down, smaller in size, to kind of work a little bit better with obviously with your design guidelines and sign requirements. So those were the 2 biggest takeaways from the DAB. So we'll work on those revisions as well. And the last thing was the existing building. We provided kind of an assessment of the building in our package, photographs of existing condition, kind of a general overview of the building's history and condition to kind of just provide some documentation of what's there now. Discussed in the past, incorporating that building into this design is really not practical, economically, functionally. The building needs a lot of work. Even issues like, as we convert its use, we'd have to address accessibility guidelines for the building, which would be very challenging to bring it up to code. So again, our plan is to demo the existing buildings on site and build it as shown here. So I know everything here is a work in progress. We know, as you said, it's a preliminary, just trying to get board feedback. Our next step would be a much more robust application with full drawings, full architectural. One of the DAB asked for a photo simulation of the view from Depot Street to show the landscaping with the building and what that view is going to look like.
Catherine?
No, my questions have been addressed. Thank you.
So when do you feel you could, would you be ready in a month, 2 months? What's your?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably say it might be tough to make the September meeting to get a good thorough application, especially if we're gonna do a photo sim and a traffic study. And so I would suspect we'd be back here for the October meeting.
Any questions from the audience? Yes. Could you get up to the podium, please? To speak, so they can hear you on Zoom.
My take from the first meeting was that there was not going to be a sign on the front of the building because they have a sign on the road already. So they have 2 signs planned. And in the first meeting, we talked about the signage and they thought that it would look less, it would look more rural with the building having no sign on it and blocking the doors so that they don't look like they're see-through doors. And they talked about using regular siding from the building to make it all uniform across and less, I don't know, utilitarian or whatever. So that was my take from the first meeting.
Yeah, those
Thanks.
were requests.
Another one? Yes, please. No, only so everybody can hear you, because they won't. Yeah, yeah, the site.
Yeah. So my question is, what is the distance between here and the sidewalk? How tight is that? And then Highland Avenue is very narrow. That's very hard to get in and out. It's also a cut through to everywhere. There's constantly, and my.
Maybe could you just get to the podium so the people on Zoom can hear you? Thanks.
The other thing is, if you're getting 40 people a day, how long does it take for an oil change?
About 15 minutes.
Okay, 40 people. Why do you need 3 bays? I mean, really, if you do the math on that, you could definitely reduce it. And it's just, it's too, you could take off that whole right-hand bay. And why can't you switch it the other direction so it's north and south instead of east and west? Or left and right?
The building needs one there, things like that just helps with the circulation and it's important to have visibility of the bays and on the main road to see, are they in use? And opportunity for us, that's how they see if it's a possible use of site. They want to drive by, see that the bay is empty and go and get their,
Well, I understand that's for marketing reasons, but I also understand that you're expecting 40 people a day and it's a 15-minute oil change. So you've got a lot of wasted time.
Were you doing more than?
Well, we could probably do the math on that. You're doing 4 in an hour, right? In 1 bay. In 2 bays, you're doing 8 in an hour.
Were you gonna do more than just oil changes? I thought you had stated at the first hearing you were gonna do.
It's all convenience services, most of the fluids, we don't touch brake fluid, but it's all the fluid inside the car.
So brake jobs, or do you just, no brake jobs? Exhaust, so all you're doing is oil change?
Tire
That's
changes.
correct. The car never leaves the ground.
Tire changes?
The car never leaves the ground. We would do tire rotations up here, tire changes. Because of the demand.
No inspections, you said no inspections last time, right? Yeah, okay.
I also think you probably need a plan for the vegetation, what type of vegetation, when it's being planted in, what size is it, and
yes, I think you mentioned part of our calculation would be a fully realized landscaping plan with materials and sizes specified.
right, I still think it's too close to Highland. And I think the building's too big. That's it.
Thanks. Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Courtney Callow, born and raised here. I've lived on Highland Avenue for 35 years. I Zoomed the last meeting and there seemed to be an overlap of people making comments that didn't apply to here. And I guess vice versa. Somebody made, I think it was Dick Smith, made a comment about this being, because I don't, who is responsible for, in your boards for, I know there's design, but as far as the historical part of this, and the town plan was brought up, and what would, who decides what's the best use of this area? This is our entering into Manchester, and we're gonna have a Valvoline? And we have signs that say Historic Depot District, and the first thing they see is a Valvoline coming in. It seems conflicting to me to like, where are we going with the town? And how are we setting up, are there other areas that they could come in and if that we need an oil change place, does it need to be? And I agree. I mean, to me, again, I live on that road. It is tight. There's tremendous amounts of traffic. I think that will, certainly contribute to that. But where are we looking at as far as the town plan goes, that area of Manchester? There's so much history there. I guess the Historic Depot District doesn't go down that far, but why can't it? I mean, it seems strange to me to be looking like suburbia. It's not why people moved here.
Thanks.
Yep.
Yes.
Bill Badger. I spoke last time briefly about the historic significance of Fireflies, the third building in the depot, and afterwards someone said, was it of national importance? No. George Washington sleep here. State importance? No. Molly Stark didn't sleep here, but local importance, you bet. It's the third commercial building in the depot. And it's had a lot of strange uses over the years. But if we're going to tear down our history and build a Valvoline, what are we doing? So this time I really want to talk about the 300-pound gorilla in the room, not putting lipstick on a pig. Why people come to Vermont and come to Manchester, we spend a lot of time trying to make the downtown wonderful. It's Manchester. And we're coming in with a Valvoline. They might as well stay home. It's the wrong scale. It's the wrong, and glass doors on the front so they'll see if it's open. Why don't you just 10-foot high neon letters, quickie oil change. I think everybody's looking at the big picture, which is this appropriate? That Elm Street is coming along, I think, and there's some nice houses on Depot Street. If this goes in, it sort of casts the die. Oh no, we want this to be a commercial schlock. I mean, it's just wrong. This isn't why people are getting off the highway to come in. This is our greeting to Manchester. Hey, look, a Valvoline. I can't think of anything worse. Well, I can't. Give me a time. Yeah.
I'm Nancy DiFiorio, and the first time I heard that Valvoline wanted to come, I was like, to Manchester? I could understand a business plan in Bennington or Rutland where the population and there's more action. But as a former business owner on Elm Street for 30 years, let's remember stick season, mud season. And so the business plan of 40 jobs a day kind of goes out the window for stick season. So to justify this giant thing, like, it doesn't really make sense that it's a valid business plan for them. And again, why would we want to do that in the depot? I mean, that's the oldest part of town, and we're gonna turn a Valvoline? Anyway. a lot of things to consider.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm new to Manchester, so please forgive me if I fall against any protocols or anything else. My name is Chris Lebog. My wife Audra and I own a home at 174 Elm Street in the Depot District. If you look, it's the top right place. So we are one row in from Highland. And even though our space is insulated, we have felt the alarm of our neighbors. We were away when the first hearing was conducted, and when we came back to a person, people were worried that they were worried about the integrity of the district. They were worried about their property values. They were worried about their lives because the Depot District is a combination of professional lives and personal lives. And the two are very interchangeable, that people work downstairs and live upstairs, or maybe they rent their places upstairs. But everybody, to a person, is really passionate and dedicated to that. And you see the Elm Street and Highland Street really coming alive. You see homes being painted. You see heat pumps being installed. For ourselves, we have been working on our roof this summer. Apologies for the noise again to our neighbors, but we will also be installing solar at the end of the summer. When we first found the place, we fell in love with it, and we fell in love for the area, and we also fell in love with the house. And we saw that the house had been loved since it was built in 1940, but we also felt that responsibility to keep it up, to upgrade, to make it better, to make it more resilient for the future. The summers are getting hotter, and we have way too much asphalt. We have way too many gas-fed vehicles. What does the Depot District stand for? I don't even think that the Valvoline itself is a fit with the other Valvoline businesses. In Rutland, it's between an Aldi and a Subaru dealership. In Bennington, it's between a discount footwear place and a air conditioning replacement. There are no residences there. If the Valvoline were put in, half of the people here are on that street. They will be endangered. We walk a golden retriever every day. We are concerned anyway, and there's a crosswalk there that would totally be just kind of disregarded if Valvoline would be put in. We're talking strychnol commercial there, and what the Depot District is artisanal commercial. It's residential commercial. It's professional. They have financial advisories. They have glass blowers. They have dressmakers. They have radio stations. They have the Bank of Bennington, which integrated very nicely into the Depot District without destroying anything. No one should buy into the Depot District intending to knock anything down. I really believe that. This building was built in 1870. The print that I got from Sean Harrington at the Historical Society shows that that building, the original building that now will have like a faux old style look, why not keep that old style look? And so tonight, rather than simply shutting down a proposal, which we are unanimously for, and I really admire the character of the Depot District for raising their voices, but I believe that there is an alternate vision that we should come together as a district, and that is a willingness to explore alternatives. If the current owner doesn't wish to upgrade the property, then I believe that we have an obligation to work with that owner to find an appropriate seller using the skill set and the resources and the imagination of the people of Manchester area overall and the Depot District itself. This is a very important property. It comes just off the Highway 7, and I believe the only real reason that the Valvoline Group is doing these acrobatics is because it's just off Highway 7. If it were on 7A North, we wouldn't be having these discussions, and there's land available there. It's because this is the first thing for the Valvoline brand coming in, regardless of the number or regardless of the number of bays. So my vision is that it's a central point coming in off of 7. You go up Highland to Barnumville Road, you go up to the Factory Point, where not coincidentally, there's been a bridge installed. So Factory Point gets a bridge, we get a Valvoline. What does that sound like for just the overall view of the Depot District in general and its future? We are the space that has the largest green space, whether it's the RK miles across the street, whether it's the fields that they allow to be used for the market. There's a lot of integration. And what happens right now, and I've seen it myself, is that people come off Highway 7, they don't know where to go. They might turn into Pets, et cetera, where we did. And now we actually live behind Pets, et cetera. But then they continue by car up through the outlets and then through, wherever they're going. What if that were a place where people could come off the highway and it's a welcoming spot and it's showing the best of Manchester, where it could be an H&M Williams type store that sells Vermont provisions and still maintains the gas pumps, but maybe there's EV chargers or maybe there's city bikes. There's a lot of potential. Those are some of my ideas. What if the current Firefly were changed to be a museum where it showed the photos and prints that the Historical Society has that are right now housed in the bottom of the library? What if the archives of the Historical District were put into that building? These are all things that are really possible because I've seen the technical skills of the Manchester community, our builder, the tradespeople. I would give them my ideas and my goals. I would just put my imagination to it and they solved it. They're the ones who managed to put in this really interesting all-electric heat pump system. They're the ones who are now putting in solar. They're the ones who supported our place. So what I'm proposing today is, first of all, that
Gotta try to keep it, okay.
I promise I will finish. Thank you for your time. But I think also the community has not had a voice, and that the fact that it's come this far without a unified voice, only in now opposition to the Valvoline, we do need to establish some sort of committee or subcommittee for the future of the Depot District. I think reflecting on these earlier comments. And I promise I will send you a letter.
Okay.
Later. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone?
May not look like it, but I'm Kathy Dillman. Kathy could not make it to the meeting, so I'm going to read her comments.
Okay. We did receive a copy of that.
Well,
Okay, if you like.
audience haven't heard it. I strongly oppose the approval of the Snowdown proposal to demolish properties at 575 Depot Street for a new instant oil change facility there. Travel to any town USA and view these large commercial entities, all a blight on the townscape. This Depot Street property is essentially the entrance to the town center and the historic Depot area. While the current buildings may not be historic or architecturally significant, they provide a low disturbance aesthetics as one enters our town. There are adequate service businesses to fill our needs already, and if one is in a hurry, they can always travel to Bennington, where such commercial blights unfortunately already impact the townscape. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
Hi, my name is Kim Rizzio. I just wanted to follow up on a question that Courtney Callow asked, and I don't know that she got an answer. If she did, I didn't hear it. Her question was, what board or committee in the town makes decisions or makes recommendations about historical protection or significance of buildings.
Historical Society, maybe? I don't.
Badger.
But, you know,
I rely on Bill a lot of times to assess a building, so.
Sorry? So
You would consult with Bill periodically.
you consult with Bill? Oh, okay. But there's no actual town
Was it
committee?
Conservation Committee, I don't know if it's still active. Is the Conservation Committee still active?
There was talk of reviving it, but I haven't.
There was a Conservation Committee years ago. I don't know, maybe.
you could maybe talk to the select board and start a committee.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I would do.
The best way to volunteer, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be coy. I
Oh,
just,
no, it's
I mean, I think it's a legitimate concern that we should have some oversight of what's happening with our buildings and what we want to preserve and what we can preserve. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Yes, sir. We've kind of got, this is a preliminary hearing, so you'll have more time to talk after, but we've got another item on the agenda tonight, so we don't want to. Oh,
Okay, I spoke last meeting.
anything new?
Solution is pretty obvious. The good news is their market research is so inaccurate that this thing's gonna fail within 5 years and hopefully be turned into a microbrewery.
Okay.
Because I live there, and to think you need 3 bays when Bennington has 1 that's empty all the time is completely inaccurate. Which brings me to my other thing. If they're so off, the market and the town, and obviously they're not welcome, which would also mean you're gonna have a boycott, okay? And that's gonna not help you. The other thing, if you're so wrong about your business analysis, the environmental component, where you're just putting a concrete square underneath, concrete is porous. You're 100, a couple hundred feet from the bat and kill. Every hurricane, it creeps further up Highland. That is a huge problem. That property will be destroyed forever. The environmental cleanup will cost somebody a lot. Maybe it doesn't matter to Valvoline, but it does matter to me. And the idea that our property values are going to plummet and it's just trashing the entire culture down there. And I mean, a cell tower was rejected in the depot, okay? And that was because of aesthetic and cultural concerns, I think, and why can't we have the same kind of privilege that we have in the other part of town where, we are protected by our boards and our property values are protected, and how can we be confident in these plans? Because anyone who lives there knows that you're not going to have, as Nancy pointed out, you're going to have dry periods, and to have 3 bays, and like completely change the whole vibe down there. The only good news is it will fail, and
Thanks.
yeah. And also I'd like to reiterate, it's going to cut out a ton of parking for businesses down there because the parking lot you put in is always filled. And a lot of times it's employees of places. We don't have enough parking down there. That's a very versatile space accommodating multiple businesses, so traffic, environment. I have not heard one request for environmental study, which I think is highly appropriate. And again, I'd just like to let them know that it's nothing personal, but you won't be welcome.
Anybody else? One more?
First, Dick Smith. Share Bill Badger's comments about the historical, the Manchester Town Plan, which is important, does have a process. And the plan calls for the expansion of that district. And this building is one of the oldest, as Bill has pointed out. It's in the same location. It's architecturally the same as 47 Highland Avenue. And when you look at a map, 1809, the word Manchester Depot goes right through what was originally the Bradley store. So given that, I have one comment. Drive-through facilities in the plan have special clauses for drive-through facilities. Must be located sufficient distance from property lines and screened to prevent adverse impacts, including but not limited to noise and light trespass and so on. Noise and odors. readily detectable without special interest. Excuse me, interest. The state has a idling rule. A person shall not cause or permit operation of the primary propulsion engine of a motor vehicle for more than 5 minutes of any 60-minute period while the vehicle is stationary. Well, if you divide that by 15 minutes, you get 1.5 minutes of idling per 15 minutes of waiting online for the oil change. Well, that ends up being 15 minutes. That's about 13 times the state standard. Now, there are exceptions for military vehicles and so on, but it gives you an idea. And when you think about the fumes and everything that are going to go and ruin the other building all over the depot, these are fumes. I mean, they destroy historic buildings. I'm not sure with Zoe's, if you're eating outside and you want to smell exhaust come, and especially in the summer where you have air conditioning, people are going to keep their cars running for the air conditioning, and the winter, conversely, is heating. So that's my comment.
Thanks. Yeah. So the motion to recess
this is a
until,
preliminary.
oh yeah, we're gonna make a motion to bring it back to October.
Well, I guess he's coming back, so a motion to close on a
Well,
preliminary?
we don't close, but. So we'll just have him come back. Come back. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Where are we at now? Getting there. Next up. Black Acre LLC, Richfield Road. Applicants requesting to construct 43-unit workforce housing project on a vacant parcel of land across from Green Mountain Estates. We'll be testifying tonight. Can I tell the truth, the truth? Thanks. You want to come up? Talk to us? I mean, I guess you went to design advisory board with maybe revised plan.
And he came to full attendant design advisory, we discussed some ideas on possible configurations and redesigns, and I guess Paul's gonna think about it and perhaps get back to us with some thoughts.
Receive feedback from the audience, receive feedback from the board about possible options.
Okay. Who was gonna be, you said someone was gonna be on?
Kyle from the.
Oh, Kyle. I guess there was a couple questions for you. Yeah. So tell the truth, nothing but the truth? Thanks. So you want to just give us an overview of what your position is and what you do? And what-
Yeah, so what we have basically is we have the, mapped floodplain by FEMA. We have this, housing development proposing to put some fill in there to kind of elevate that land up and build the housing units on top of it. The issue with, putting fill in the floodplain is you can't compress water, right? So that water is going to have to go elsewhere. We don't have any sort of information at this point in terms of, how much of an impact that is, where the depth and velocity increases would be. So kind of from the state standpoint, or really any, responsible floodplain management, you would get what's called a hydraulic analysis, which we did previously for the Bournebrook floodplain restoration project. So something similar to that is going to tell us, what the impact of this fill in the floodplain is on flood heights and flood velocities. Also, what areas are going to be inundated at that. And we're talking about the 100-year flood or the 1% annual chance flood. That's kind of what FEMA regulates to. That's how the flood hazard area is defined. So yeah, you would kind of see what the effects are at that 100-year flood or 1% annual chance flood discharge. And then if you had impacts, you would probably have to mitigate them by changing the site design in some way and reducing that fill. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so is that something you've looked into yet, or you haven't, have you gotten any of those reports yet, or no?
So we responded to the letter that was nice. And we've been trading emails. Most people are out on vacation from the state. But we've agreed to engage with whatever firm that Peter suggested, I think, for the ladies.
It was,
And
so
so,
the Bournebrook study had been done by an outfit the town had contracted with. So I think the thinking was that the information was available already in some capacity. So that would make the lift a little bit easier.
yeah, exactly. That's what we
with,
do.
combining and hiring that firm which we've reached out to already last week, and they're engaged to do that and combine it with the town's effort, which is a lot of data. Chris Panesi already did preliminary stormwater and reflecting on this unfilled stuff. So I think it's just the three groups getting together to acknowledge, and then if there's anything that needs to be changed, we would do it.
Now, this is from the state level, when they make a decision, however they make the decision.
And let's just back up right there. So for this, I'm just providing you guys with technical assistance to enforce your own regulations. So this permit is completely within the town's hands. The reason I exist here is just to kind of help you guys through that, make sure we have a good hydraulic analysis, make sure, you know, everything passes the straight face test, and kind of help you guys issue that permit. I wouldn't get involved unless there was an Act 250 permit involved, which is another discussion, I think.
And so the hydrologist or whatever, he would, I guess because there were some concerns about the project if it flooded, and depends on how they build a project, it could create a worse situation than it is now. And would that hydrologist just be able to tell you it will or it won't, or would they not have that type of information?
No, so what it should be able to tell you is that they do them, you know, one-dimensionally, which is kind of the water flowing down the channel. And then they take, you know, topographical like cross sections. So you can see where those rises might be. There's also a two-dimensional model. So that's kind of the whole floodplain. So it would take into account the existing topography, the new proposed topography, and then see kind of where that water eventually ends up spreading out at a certain discharge.
Was that something you would be doing, Paul, I guess, to?
I think, the town's done quite a bit of that work already.
So, right, but I mean, I don't know how much they've done, and they haven't done it all
The
yet.
town is not responsible for proving out or not proving.
Yeah, no. The only reason that I brought in the old study is because if Paul wanted to do this now, it might be a lot to go to a new consulting firm, build a new model.
Start all over again.
The advantage here is we already have an existing model, so the existing firm that has that should be able to kind of do that at a lesser cost.
More economical, rather than having someone start all over again.
Yeah.
Someone's already started the project, have them finish it. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then if we do get into the other project, then we kind of have a model of the whole floodplain and everything that's in it, right? Instead of kind of piecemealing it together.
But you seem to feel that if this firm comes out, they could verify to the board that whatever's going on with the project will not affect anything anymore.
Yeah, what it would tell you is if this fill pad is gonna push your water up at that 100-year flood or make it faster. So if you can prove out that there's no impact in those respects, we have reasonable assurance that at least at that base flood, 100-year flood, that this is what's gonna happen. A model is only the model. It doesn't mean we can have bigger floods than that, but we've at least, assessed it to some degree to say, hey, that this shouldn't have an effect, or this does have an effect and it needs to be changed to get those impacts down.
This may be a silly question, but is the modeling data based on historical, or is it based on current situation, or does it include future potential? Like, what is the model?
Yeah, this would be based on the FEMA flood insurance study. That would be the basis of it, which is, mostly done on historical data. You could do that model if you wanted more assurance. You can go above that level and say, hey, I want, more assurances to know that it's above the 100-year flood. But in a regulatory sense, that 100-year flood, 100-year discharge is kind of what we're working with.
Paul, you're in touch with the hydrologist.
And then Chris Benesky is the one here who's done this analysis, but he's fine with working with a hydrogeologist as well to reconfirm it all.
Any other questions?
She might be on too, so she would be able to comment with her assistance to assess.
That's your first, Catherine?
I have no
Any
questions.
At this time, no. And who else did you say is on?
Chrissy has.
Chrissy?
Chrissy, you there?
Oh,
I
Chrissy.
am here.
Excellent.
What's your thoughts?
I mean, in regard to us assisting, we don't do flood analysis, so I would rely on the folks that developed the previous model. But I can certainly provide some review and input for the board after that's done.
Okay. Any questions from us? So, what's that?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So. Any other questions from the board? I mean, we'd like to see, if you can get that study back and possibly whatever the design advisory board was talking about. Anything new from the audience? Yeah.
The monitor probably just find out.
I'm Caroline. I live on East Manchester Road. Pretty incredibly opposed to this proposed development because of the flooding that happened 2 years ago. We saw it. I tried to drive my car through it. It was pretty scary. And I wanted to share a really short paragraph from a New Yorker article about mainly the floods in Texas, but they interview people from Vermont and they cite the flooding. And I want to touch on that 100-year flood standard. So I'm just going to read a very short paragraph. In Vermont, a flood in August 2011 caused by Hurricane Irene was so devastating that the U.S. Geological Survey called it a 500-year flood. And at least one analysis deemed it a 1,000-year flood. The flood that tore through Plainfield on July 10th, 2024 occurred 1 year to the day after the 2023 flood, which had been a 100-year flood. And on the same day this July, a violent flood struck Caledonia County in the north of the state. Although such a tight group of floods isn't statistically impossible, it does suggest that the probability curves used by FEMA are out of whack with real climate conditions. A recent national study commissioned by First Street Foundation, a private risk assessment firm, concluded that floods previously considered to be 100-year events have become on average 62-year events. So it just seems a little bit like this building, although affordable housing is much needed, has very, very little longevity and any thinking into the future. This is not the place for it at all. You're just building those people a disaster to live in, and then they have to deal with it. It's not the place at all.
Thanks. Hey, the only other thing I was thinking about, and I know it was brought up before, traffic study. Are we gonna do any type of traffic study? I think there was some concerns about the amount of traffic on the road that it might.
When they were brought up, I mean, it was discussed, it's not that.
Yeah. Is that a,
Studies existing already.
what's that?
That study is already done on Ridgeville Road.
Oh, it is.
It's off the website.
Okay. You know, any other guess?
Tom Penji. I spoke at the earlier meeting regarding ordinances that some of you may not be aware of, that you need to follow. And I will start with the ordinance, section 3.2.2. And it says, the purpose of a site plan review is to ensure that the physical aspects of a proposed land development comply with all applicable provisions of the ordinance and are consistent with the goals of the Manchester Town Plan. It's not an advisory, that's an ordinance. Number two, the proposed land development is designed to be visually compatible with its setting. Number three, the proposed land development is appropriately sited and is complementary to and functionally integrated with surrounding development to the greatest possible extent. That's all in ordinances, and you should be following those.
We are.
Second item is in reference to waivers, which this proposal is going to be looking for
I
height.
think, on the waiver part, Pete, didn't we figure out that because of the,
It's in a flood hazard. Can't have a waiver.
no, but because of the amount of affordable units are in there, wasn't there a
It was a height.
height? There is, if you go through our ordinance, there's something in there. I don't think he needs a waiver for that, but I might be mistaken.
I think you are mistaken.
Oh,
You do not grant waivers in the flood hazard.
we don't
Waivers are
grant,
on-
can't,
Waivers for height are only extended when there is an
we can't grant a waiver in that
Flood hazard.
flood hazard zone, but because if you read further in the, we'll give you the book, I can give you the information, I don't have time.
not finished up.
Yep.
You're right. However, it can only be used in terms of if there's an issue with accessibility for handicap, that's one. And there are others on regarding the flood hazard zone.
Okay.
It's not just an automatic waiver because it's a housing project. It's not
Okay.
automatic. It may be,
I'll look.
not
I'll look into it.
automatic. Okay?
We have a section
And-
here.
Do you want me to read it, Tim?
Yeah, please.
8.7.2 workforce housing height bonus to outside of the downtown and town center districts. A workforce housing structure may be up to 35 feet in height for up to 50% of the footprint of the building.
It's not automatic though. It may be given, it says, not automatic.
I'm talking about a waiver.
That's exempt. There is.
Two separate things.
Yeah, but it's not an automatic waiver. Just
Okay, well-
because he has a housing project, it does not automatic because it's a housing project.
That's saying it would not require a waiver. It's a workforce housing project.
We can argue about this later.
Offline.
We can give you, we'll send you a copy of the,
And now, there's another issue in the past, when we've had the past meeting, both boards expressed that you don't deal with flood hazards, that you don't have to deal with that in your permitting process, but you do. That's part of the ordinance as well. It's part of the zoning bylaws. There's a section on flood hazard areas that prohibit new development in special flood hazard areas. So you do have to consider that.
we consider it, but it's not, we're not the engineers.
No, you're not the engineers, but you have to, the last two meetings, do you recall saying we do not, both in the advisory meeting and in the development review meeting, you both said we don't deal with the flood hazard.
We're not
You
the
say-
engineers for it, but if we get information from the state or from.
You do have to consider that.
Yes.
Okay, that's my point. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
My name's Seth Berger. I live on East Manchester Road and have since 2018. I'm also the president of the Southwestern chapter of Trout Unlimited. I was in this room, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, when the town commissioned a study of Bournebrook and Liebrook and the historic floodplains of those 2 rivers and what that meant for the current residents of the area. The findings of that study were more or less TFB. We built houses in the wrong places. And the historic floodplain runs directly through where this project is proposed. Just as Caroline had shared, in the previous floods, Richfield Road gets shut down. You can't drive through it. Green Mountain Road was a dirt road for 1.5 years after the last flood because of what it did. I think if you asked any of the people who live there if they wish they lived somewhere else, they'd adamantly say yes. And so to build 43 units directly in the path of Bournebrook and hope that it doesn't flood again is foolish. It doesn't make any sense. And the only reason it can happen under Act 250 is because there's 9 units of affordable housing. Well, what happens to those people when they can't get home or can't get to work or their car gets washed away? Not to mention what happens when things end up in the river. And we know how many people come here in the summer to enjoy the river. So to build a significant housing project, let alone a single structure on this property is foolish.
Thank you. Oh, was that Mike? I can't see. Michael.
Yeah, Fernandez.
Michael, you had a question?
I had a statement, sir. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So I'm here this evening in my professional capacity as district manager of the Bennington County Conservation District to express our deep concern and opposition to developing a significant housing unit in a historic floodplain as a countywide government. As a countywide government, can you hear me now?
I couldn't hear you, Mike.
Give me one moment.
I can hear you now. I just couldn't hear you while everyone was clapping.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can't hear the clapping. As a countywide government agency charged with protecting the working landscape of Bennington County since 1946, myself and my team have reviewed the documents surrounding this project and have also been directly responding to flooding events throughout the county. And the Battenkill portion of Bennington County has been incredibly fortunate since Hurricane Irene, in that we haven't had the level of severity of floods inflicted on the rest of the state. However, just up the road in Winhall, Jamaica, Rawsonville, we responded to a 14-inch inundation in less than 6 hours during the July 23 floods. It is not at all out of the realm of possibility that this area in Manchester will be hit with similar precipitation events in the future. And we share the concerns that have been expressed thus far by members of the community regarding the flooding and the extreme potential for damage and impact on the Battenkill, Bournebrook, and the wider watershed, particularly downstream, where all of this flooding impact would be occurring. I would also highly encourage, if a hydrological study is to be commissioned, that you not hold to the 100-year floodplain standard and instead utilize the 500-year floodplain standard. This is a much more realistic standard given the current rapid change of our climate and the increasing numbers of these extreme flooding events that we are seeing both here in Bennington County and throughout the state.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes?
Nancy, I concur with everything he said. I mean, it's a roulette wheel. And why would we want to put families in danger like that? The people that live there struggled, and we're going to put more families in that situation? It doesn't make any sense. If we want to make housing, let's find a compatible situation. If you're really serious about helping the town, as you say, because anybody with a piece of property, who has a piece of property?
That's fine. We all have.
We can develop housing on, like,
If you want to donate a piece of property, we'd be love to take it for housing.
I only have an acre and I had to split that in half, so.
Okay. Thanks. Any other questions, Catherine? So when's our next hearing? Pete?
September 3rd, I think is what it is.
I thought it was the second. I'll go for it.
Do you think that study can be ready by the 3rd, or how long does that take? Of September.
Enough time?
Enough time, we want to,
Another Wednesday?
yeah.
First Monday.
Right.
Yeah, and you said the traffic, you had traffic study and possibly the redesign on the, or whatever, on the buildings.
Right, well, I think, would you be ready for design?
I mean, if not, we can go 3rd, we can go, no, October too, so. Okay. So is there a motion to continue it to the 3rd?
The motion to continue to September 3rd?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I heard you, I saw your lips, Catherine. Thumbs up. Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Oh, Peter.
Need a motion to adjourn the meeting or?
Why, I just did the minutes.
Hang up on Catherine.
Want the original, these the original minutes?
You signed them, they are.
But you had some, or it wasn't on these, no, the 16th. It was the second.
yeah.
I'm glad his feet entertained.
7,
It's interesting to me that he.
6.
Everyone.